Hey everyone, it's Eli from Elfbait. Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about jailing your party. I know it seems like kind of a weird thing to do, and this question comes from my buddy Moki, who asked me very specifically, like, "Hey, what can I do to how do I jail my party? How do I send my players to jail?" And so I decided that it was a great topic for a video. This is something I've done a couple of times in games, mostly to individual characters, never to really the whole party, but it can certainly be done to your entire party. And there are a couple of things to really think about if you're going to put your party in jail. First of all, most important thing at all, out of all of it, before you even go down this road, consider how it fits the story. If you're going to throw the party in jail, you want to make sure that this somehow features into your story, that it enhances the campaign or the gameplay in some fashion. It may tie into the main plot, it may tie into a subplot or a side quest, but make sure that if you're going to do that, if you're going to go through the process of taking your party of adventurers, putting them in jail, which generally also includes taking their stuff and curtailing their actions and their activity for a while, you really want to make sure that it's going to be worth it and it's going to have some kind of payoff. So think of how it affects the story, how it fits into the story. Make it part of the story. Really, don't. I would caution you against making it some sort of just a diversion or a bump in the road, an annoyance, and for God's sake, don't do it punitively. You don't want to go ahead and do this as a way to punish your party, punish your players for something that you feel that they've done against you. If you're at that point in your campaign, you really need to have a sit down and talk to your players. So, story out of the way. The story reason is not really it's not really worth going into too much. I mean, generally if the party's going to be jailed, it's either going to be because of their own actions or because of the will of some other person. So, second thing you need to consider, and this is as important as the first one, almost as important at least, is before you even put your party in jail, think about, and in fact I would say even figure out, don't just think about it, actually have it calculated how they're going to get out. Is it going to be by their own means? If so, then you need to place into the jail setting the means by which they're going to escape. This is not so much about the jailbreak scenario, which is another adventure style, but this is kind of sum total if you're going to put your party in jail. Have some way that they're going to get out. If it's not going to be by their own hand, have some other pre-planned reason, preferably that fitting into your story, that's then going to facilitate them getting out of jail. Now, if the party does get out on their own before that facilitating event, that's okay. You can adapt and run your campaign, as you normally would, kind of figuring it out as you go along. Now, from here, what kind of reasons can you come up with for the party to be let out? Usually, you're going to tie it into why they're there, but things you can think about are pardons with conditions. A wealthy benefactor comes and decides to let them out for a price. It could be that some sort of event occurs while they're in jail that they then become a part of. An attack on the city or the town. A monster attack. If a dragon were to suddenly swoop down onto the city and start burning everything while they're in jail, then there is the excitement of trying to escape, and then also, does the party get involved in defending the township? I mean, certainly the folk who live there are not the ones that jailed them and don't deserve to be burned to a crisp by a dragon if the party can do something about it. It could be something as simple as divine intervention or infernal intervention. Perhaps while the party's in jail, a mysterious figure appears in their cell. Maybe they thought they were in there alone, but suddenly there's somebody in there with them. And that somebody starts talking about ways that he could get them out of there for a price or at a cost. Something that they have to do for him. Something that he needs from them. But he'll get them out. Once you have figured out how the party's going to get out, then you need to start thinking about things that are going to happen while they're in jail. What kind of events are you going to have while they're in there? What are you going to do to make their jail time interesting? Is this going to be a protracted series of encounters with NPCs in which, they are kind of taunted and toyed with? Are they going to be tortured? Are they going to be questioned? Are they going to be put to work? Perhaps though they're in prison, maybe that imprisonment also includes some work detail, some patching the walls or digging earthworks or digging drainage ditches. Maybe they're just used as porters down on the docks by the basically resupplying the king's ships. Maybe it is that they are put to work building the queen's new garden. Maybe they're put to work building the engines of war that the queen decides to take against another nation, maybe the nation that the players are from. This gives them an opportunity to get involved in that plot, that political plot, where maybe they're going to try and do some sabotage. But interesting things that occur while they're incarcerated, while the party is in jail. So you've already figured out how they get there, and you already figured out why they're there, and you've already figured out how they're going to get out, and some things that are going to occur while they're there. So how does this work into your story? Well, is the story of their incarceration about revealing some truth about your campaign? And if so, does that come from the circumstances of their jailing, their interaction with the officials that they're dealing with while they're being jailed? Or does it come from some source within the jail? Do they overhear guards talking about the way that the war is going? Do they learn a few tricks from another man or woman or being that's incarcerated with them? Could be that they get vital clues to things that they have been questing for while they're in jail. This dungeon that they're in, this prison within the castle, could be full of all sorts of nefarious folks, or even just down and outers, who have all sorts of useful little tidbits and rumors. True or not, it could be that guy with the eye, with one of his eyes burned out of its socket and both of his hands missing, used to be a talented thief until he was caught trying to steal a very wonderful giant blue gem at a particular temple. That blue gem may just fit the description of something that your party has been looking for to undo the big bad or help their hometown. Perhaps it is that jewel or whatever item it is that this thief was trying to steal could be something from one of your character's backgrounds. Perhaps it is a precious heirloom or something that he was entrusted with or she was entrusted with when they were young. If they have an acolyte background, perhaps they once worked at that temple and they know that maybe there was never a blue crystal there before, so what's going on? All sorts of clues as to things that are going into your campaign can be revealed while your characters are in jail. Make use of this time to make it interesting. Have them get into some interesting fights. Maybe they'll make some friends. The NPC that they meet while they're in the jail could be the NPC that they meet in an inn or on the road later on. Especially if there's some sort of massive jailbreak and they all go their separate ways. But the next time they meet up with Goroth, the half-orc brawler in the tavern, Goroth may chuckle and remember them and the time that they came to blows in the courtyard during their exercise period. And they're going to share a pint, and he's going to share with them some sort of bit of information that he's found. Maybe he returned to the north from where he had said that he'd come from, and he found out that things had changed up there. Things had changed in a way that fit with something that the party is after, or some part of their quest. Maybe their release is not through circumstance or happenstance, I should say, but maybe their release is something that ties into the reason they were incarcerated. And maybe the same individual who had them arrested wrongfully, maybe they were framed, or maybe it was all an elaborate ruse or an elaborate ploy to get them in a position where this individual, a noble, a merchant, some sort of clergyman, an acolyte of the local temple, maybe the king himself, needed those players' characters in that jail so he had control. In my game that I'm running on Mondays, alternate Mondays, it's a very magic-heavy party in a campaign setting that was originally, described as being low magic. And in this situation, it's not that magic doesn't exist, it's just there's not a lot of people running around with a lot of control over it. So my party, which includes 2 warlocks, a cleric, a druid, and a ranger, this constitutes a heavy concentration of magic in my campaign setting. It's very likely, very possible, that this is going to draw the attention of the people in Tronwald. They already have a reputation as being the heroes of Himley, the village that they started out in, and a friend to Goodmead Abbey. How long is it going to take before the nobles and the merchant houses and the very well-to-do start figuring out that there's this cluster of magicians, of magic-using individuals roaming around with all this power at their disposal? They're only 4th level right now, 3rd, 4th level now, but even still, all that magic in one place is going to draw attention. And how useful could that be to some nobleman or a clergyman or a priestess or another wizard or something? And one way to get a hold of those people would be to frame them. That way they're put up against insurmountable odds. The standing magistrates or army of the local prince, and they could be put into jail. Now this individual can approach them with his offer or his conditions. If the party needs to get out of the jail, they may be willing to entertain this. Or it could be that the party's desires, the party's goals line up with that of this individual. But this is the only way that individual could figure out how to get the party there to listen to him. So really, when you to nutshell it here, if you're gonna jail your party, make sure that it is part of the story. I said that at the beginning. You got to figure out how they're getting jailed fits the story. Figure out how they're going to get out of there before you even determine that they're going to get jailed. Already have an idea that you're going to jail them and this is how they're going to get out, or this is a way they can get out. Don't dissuade them from trying to get out on their own. Even if they don't succeed, even if you don't want them to succeed, it still makes for good adventure, and it also allows them to have some agency still. But then also think about what happens while they're in jail. What are the circumstances of their incarceration? Who do they meet? What happens? What information do they gain? And then the last element really to tie it all together is, what are the consequences of their escape? Are they let out to do the deed? There's not much of a consequence there unless they renege on that deal. If they escape, however, they now carry this brand of being escaped criminals. Even if they escape during the dragon attack that I mentioned, or some sort of a invasion or an assault on the keep by a hostile force, they may still be considered enemies. Although if they stood their ground and assisted with the city guard or the whoever it is that's manning the walls of the village or the town or the keep that they're being held in, that could change the minds of those who jailed them. This could build into the story. Maybe this is the lead into the adventure. The Lord of the Keep is like, I thought you men were criminals and base, and I thought that you were, the sort of men that I should let rot, but you stood your ground even when you could have run, and that means that you were not the men I thought you were, and I have need of men such as you. Adventure. It could be that, they're escaping, leaves them wondering, leaves them curious as to what's going on in the setting. But in the end, the jailing of your party should never be just because you want to be a dick. It's never a punishment to the party. Make sure it's part of the story. Anyways, this has been my thoughts on jailing your party. Put them in jail. I've done it a couple times. It's been fun. It's had some interesting results. I've had some characters go through some serious changes based on getting jailed. But, hey, share your stories of jailing your party below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, if this is your first time visiting Elfbait. I am now doing 2 videos a week. I used to kind of just stuff them in where I could, but now I'm going to release them on Wednesdays and Sundays. That gives you a bit of a middle of the week, taste of Elfbait and something to look forward to Sunday morning when you're just chilling at home. So anyways, thanks for coming by again. Think about jailing your party. It could be fun, and get out and game.